Well, I guess we'll get started, and if more people come in, they can just come in. I want to thank everyone for coming to our event. As you guys probably know, we're focusing on women and LGBTQ plus careers within the nonprofit sector. If you haven't already, please put your name, major, email, and if you are physically living in Slippery Rock this semester in the chat. So we just want to tell a little bit about ourselves as an organization. We're the Student Nonprofit Alliance. We are a pre-professional organization for students who are working in the nonprofit sector. However, you do not have to be part of the nonprofit major to be a part of our club. We welcome everyone. Our mission is to foster an understanding of, appreciation for, and deeper commitment to the nonprofit sector. So I'm Madison, and I'll let Kirsten introduce herself.
I'm Kirsten.
We're both Student Nonprofit Alliance members and board members. And today's speakers are Jon Adams and Amanda Bannock. Is that how I pronounce their last name? Yes, okay. I wanted to make sure. I believe Julia is coming on here in a minute or two, but I'm not quite sure. So if she shows up, she shows up. We'll skip Julia for right now since she isn't on yet. But we'll start with Jon. Jon, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I work for Central Outreach Wellness Center here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we're an LGBT-focused organization. We do some women's health. That's primarily handled by Planned Parenthood in the city, but we do take patients walk-in basis, big sexual health clinics. So reach out if you guys need anything.
And you're currently attending Capella University for your master's in public health, right?
Yeah, so not in the nonprofit sector, but I have written a few grants and everything, and I can tell you that a nonprofit education probably would have helped me a lot in that.
So you're the project manager for Central Outreach, right?
Yeah. Do you want me just to go in a spiel of what I do, or?
Yes. Okay. What's your responsibilities?
So basically, I'm involved in planning any of the growth or potential expansion projects that we do. So like right now, I've been working on, we have a new walk-in clinic, so we're adding 7 patient rooms to our existing clinic so we can accommodate 18 patients at a time, about every half hour. We also just opened a clinic in Erie, Pennsylvania. So we offer full service of LGBT healthcare in Erie. That includes transgender healthcare as well. Other projects, we're doing a lot of HIV prevention online, similar to like Mr. and Nurex. I know they are kind of big in the field, but we're focusing on Pennsylvania. A lot of what I do is like communicating with outside vendors, getting contracts in place, trying to find partner organizations. Funding can be a huge part. So we do have a nonprofit arm for that. They handle a lot of our grant writing process and everything, and I get the budget for that. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience in that realm of things.
What's it like working with that foundation?
It's pretty straightforward since it's our partner organization. So we donate some part of our profits to it. We tend to have a streamlined referral process for things, but overall, it's good working with them. Outside of other nonprofits that I've worked with, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. So what do you like most about working within like the LGBT community?
It's mostly just being able to help my community and being able to provide services where it's lacking. We're primarily in Western Pennsylvania, but we have patients drive 2.5, 3 hours for LGBT competent healthcare. And it's really sad that they have to go that far. So a lot of what I do is trying to break down those barriers and create more open access to care.
Okay. So I know you do not have a nonprofit major. But how do you think having a nonprofit management major would have helped you out more, or?
Yeah, definitely on the grant writing process. I've written 2 grants myself and both have gotten denied. And I think a lot of that is I'm just not overly familiar with the process. So I actually had a grant writer resubmit one for me and it got approved. So I definitely think the education is needed in some aspects if you're planning to be a nonprofit at all.
So what advice do you have for someone who's like looking to get into your sector?
Network. Pretty much talk to as many people as you can and try to build connections and remember who you can reach out to for what. A lot of our growth and potential is because we partner with so many different organizations.
If I remember correctly, you said you're also Central Outreach slightly changed its focus from more LGBT specific healthcare to right now with COVID, kind of working with like vaccination sites and such.
Yeah, so our goal is to vaccinate our community first at the moment. So we had 4,100 LGBT clients who qualified based on 1A conditions. So our goal initially was to vaccinate them, but we do have a public vaccination program going. And to date, we vaccinated, I think it's around 4,800 people.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm very happy with that one.
What is one thing you would recommend students to do to prepare for them to work in a career like yours?
Get used to reading journal articles, get used to keeping up to date on information and learning how to pick your sources well. The biggest thing in at least my public health master's courses has been all the writing, all of the sources, everything. I'm sure you all are familiar with that process as well, but APA can be quite interesting to have to deal with a lot.
Is there anything else you would like to share with us before we move on to our next speaker?
No, just if anybody's ever has questions about like sexual health or if you're in need of LGBT healthcare or have a friend or family member, please send them our way. We take walk-ins, we take referrals. That's what we're here for. So thank you.
Thank you. Kirsten, I think Julia is here now.
Julia is here now.
Yeah, sorry, I did not realize I had the wrong link.
I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
So our next speaker is Julia. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Julia?
Yeah, of course. So I'm actually a 2020 graduate from Slippery Rock. So I graduated in May of 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. And I studied integrated marketing communications and philanthropy and nonprofit management. And since then, I've been hired at Dress for Success Pittsburgh as the communications and events coordinator.
So you're the communications and events coordinator. Can you tell us what that's like?
Yeah, absolutely. So as many people know who know the nonprofit sector, a lot of the folks that work in the nonprofit sector wear multiple hats. So I am the communications and events coordinator primarily, but I also do a lot of work with our donor management and donor development. So I do run the social media accounts. I'm in charge of annual and quarterly communications. And I am currently working on virtual and socially distant events given the state of the pandemic. But I am on a monthly basis of keeping track of donors and sending out donor acknowledgements and making sure that we all have record of who contributes to the organization and thank them accordingly.
I feel like I probably should start off with this question since not everyone in here knows what Dress for Success is. Do you want to tell us a little bit of what Dress for Success is?
Yeah.
That's a lot of S's.
It is. Dress for Success is a social service organization that works to empower women who are entering and returning to the workforce across Southwestern PA. And we also offer mobile services events, which is actually how I got involved with the organization through the Student Nonprofit Alliance, because in my undergraduate years, we brought Dress for Success mobile units to campus and suited about 40 people every time that they came to campus. So we offer clothing to women who are in need of it, but we also recently launched our Virtual Connections Resource Center. So we have an online platform that provides women with additional resources that they can access from the comfort of their homes, which has been super useful given the state of the pandemic.
So what made you want to go into a career within the nonprofit sector?
Well, it's funny. I attribute a lot of it to Alice. I know she's on this call, but I always knew that I wanted to help people. And until I got to Slippery Rock, I didn't realize that there was a way to do that and make a living. And she always told us in our undergraduate years that people in this sector make a difference while making a living. And that really resonated with me. And I always knew that I felt like my purpose in life was to help others. And this was a great outlet for me to do that. So that's why I chose the nonprofit sector to work in.
So what do you like most about working with women?
I think it's super rewarding to empower other women, being that I am a woman myself and I identify as a woman, because there's so many things that women have to deal with on a regular basis. And sometimes an external source doesn't realize all of the things that a woman deals with. And currently during the pandemic, women are at a disadvantage because they're actually suffering worse than men are. And so it's really empowering for me to be able, during this time especially, help women take either the next step in their career journey, or if they're re-entering the workforce, it's really moving to be able to lift another woman in everyday work.
So since you're a recent alum, how did the nonprofit management major help you in your career today?
Oh, it helped me tremendously. So there is so much that I know that other people that are also at the organization didn't know at the level that they once were whenever they started. And I think the program really sets you up to have a comprehensive understanding of how a nonprofit functions and how it's different than a corporate functioning organization. So I'm super grateful for my time at Slippery Rock, and the program really does go the extra mile and gives you that knowledge and understanding to go into an entry-level position feeling super comfortable in knowing the works of how a nonprofit functions on a day-to-day basis.
What advice do you have for someone who's looking to go into the nonprofit sector?
I think my best advice is to find a mission that reigns true to you and what you're passionate about and what gives you life and energy. Because as I said, I was first involved with Dress for Success in undergrad, and I was super empowered by the mission to help other women. And I think that that's super important when you go into the nonprofit sector, to find an organization that makes you excited and is something that you truly believe in your core values.
What is one thing you recommend students do now while they're in school to prepare them to work in this career?
I think an internship is super valuable, and I know that it's a part of the program. I actually interned at the Grove City YMCA, and although it got a little bit derailed due to the pandemic, it was a really wonderful experience to see how an organization works and actually be on the grounds and see the work for itself. But I also would say volunteering. I have volunteered since I was in high school, but I also volunteered through my sorority and the Nonprofit Alliance while I was on Slippery Rock's campus, and just getting out there and seeing different organizations and what they support, I think is so valuable to actually starting a career in the nonprofit sector.
Would you like to say anything else?
Just thank you so much for having me. I hope that everyone was able to benefit a little bit from my experience. And if anyone else has any questions, you can reach me via email, or you have all my contact information, you can share it forward.
All right. Thank you so much. I know you said that you can't stay on past 5 p.m. today, so I just want to be cautious of your time.
Yeah,
But
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And that leaves Amanda.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Amanda. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Do you want me to introduce myself? Do you want to introduce me?
Introduce yourself.
Okay. Pretty regular at this. I am Amanda Bannock. I work for AWARE as their volunteer coordinator. So I get to go out and talk about AWARE and our mission to college students all the time. I manage all of our interns. I am also a recent grad at the nonprofit program at Slippery Rock. actually was already working at Aware. I had gone to school before for business and wanted to finish my degree. And when I found that Slippery Rock offered a program versus most other schools were doing them online only and none were local, I jumped at the chance and I'm glad I did. Alice was a great help. So anybody that is looking to get into nonprofit, I know I'm skipping to the bottom question, but really look into even the certificate program or adding it on somehow. But at Aware, what we do is we are the Mercer County Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Agency. So we help anyone that has been affected in any way by violence. And that can even be financial abuse. We do see some of that. So it's not necessarily always physical. It's not always sexual. It can be intimidation. And most people think that we only help women, which we do, very, very predominantly women victims that come forward. But we have seen an increase with the LGBT community. I feel that they now, luckily, are feeling safer about coming and getting services and help, as well as men that are being abused by their partners. So we offer quite a bit at Aware service-wise. We have shelters that they can come and live in. They can have an advocate with them when they have to go to court. They can have an advocate just to talk to them. Our social media and our web chat function, especially in the pandemic, has exploded. More people are feeling more comfortable typing their concerns rather than calling a hotline like they used to in the past.
What is it like being the volunteer coordinator at Aware, and what are some of the duties you have?
Well, I think it's like, I think Julia mentioned this as well. I might wear a volunteer coordinator hat, but I have about a million other jobs that I do. I am part of our management leadership team. So not only do I deal with day-to-day managing of the staff, and my staff would be our interns and volunteers, I also work with all of our new hires. And we actually are funded by 3 different coalitions in Pennsylvania. One of them is Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And then there's the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape, and then the Pennsylvania Crime and Delinquency. So our money comes predominantly from those 3 funders, and they all have certain criteria that a staff person, volunteer, or intern has to meet. And right now that is sitting at 75 hours of training before you are even able to step foot in front of a victim. So I do all of the planning and coordination for anybody that needs to go through that training. I work with those coalitions to make sure we are still abiding by their rules, I guess you could say, and then keep track of everything for them too, as well as representative on numerous county boards, chambers of commerce for the agency. The one thing that I can say about the nonprofit, and both of you spoke to this earlier about networking, is nonprofits' success is when they can show that they work with others in their community, other agencies. So there's a lot of networking involved in the sector. It's how we support each other, and it's how we are able to still grow.
What made you want to go into your career within the nonprofit sector?
Well, like I said, I was already working at Aware when I found that that was the path that I wanted to take to finish my degree. I will say that I started working at Aware. Obviously, I was a non-traditional student. I started working at Aware because I was actually a volunteer on one of their boards. And it was, what got me was my children were young at the time, and I saw the need growing in my small hometown where their shelter opened, and the children were there at Christmas and at their birthdays. And I wanted to help those children so that they didn't feel so sad. Like one instance is, they'll say to their mom, the child will say to their mom, "We're in a shelter now," because they understand that in a sense. They're not in their home any longer. How's Santa going to know to find me? So one of my big things on the board was I took over donation collections, and I made sure that we were able to give the parent that was staying with them Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, to make sure that they were experiencing something good in their life because they had been experiencing something so bad. And then actually I created the volunteer program when I was hired.
What do you like most about working with women?
I have to say the empowerment, especially when it comes to women. Women are still held at a lower standard in the workforce, and to see the harassment that goes on in certain businesses still to this day is upsetting. So to know that we can help them, whether it's through our advocacy where they just talk to us, or whether it gets as far as they need to get a PFA against whomever is holding something over their head or abusing them. It's just helping them get through that, to know that they're not alone in the world. That is the best.
How did the nonprofit major help you in your career today?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was like the perfect time because I was developing a program, and I learned in class as well, the program never is fully developed. It grows and you keep going on. So the program development in one of the first class alone was super helpful to me. The grants that we would learn about and researching grants, I've been able to take that actually into my personal life. I'm a representative with, my Children's Softball Association, and I applied for a grant last year for them from the knowledge that I gained from the class, and we were awarded a large grant. One thing that I always took away was, just because it's a nonprofit doesn't mean it can't make money and shouldn't make money. A nonprofit is a business and should be run as a business. And that was very helpful to learn. Like I said, being a manager, I am privy to a lot of information about how the financial side of our agency is run, and I've been able to give good input because of things that I've learned.
What advice do you have for someone who's looking to go into the nonprofit sector?
Just like everybody said before, the networking is huge. Find your passion, like Julia said, find your passion and network with people that are doing that. Ask a lot of questions. Taking that certificate, at least the additional classes, so that you are getting the minor, that is the best way to get into the nonprofit sector.
And what's one thing you recommend students do now while they're in school to prepare them to work in this career?
My biggest thing is diversify your experiences. Do them in person with applied learning. We are doing a lot of Zoom lately, and believe me, I think Zoom is awesome. It's great. It got us through a pandemic, but nothing is more than that hands-on, that helping out there, volunteering, soup kitchen, whatever it is. But being in person has a whole different response to being on a computer. So diversify yourself, get out there and find something that you like, but also maybe something that you didn't like. Maybe, you don't really like working with animals, but maybe one day you go and you work at, a fundraiser for them as a volunteer, just to see what all is available.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you would like to share with us before you go?
I am still accepting interns, by the way. I always plug that out there. So if anybody's interested in an intern with an agency like mine, please reach out to me. You can pass off my email, phone number, everything that you have for me. I love working with Slippery Rock students. I will say, and it's not just the nonprofit majors. We have a lot from psychology departments to sociology.
I'll keep that in mind.
Always looking for volunteers.
You're also looking for volunteers? I'm sorry, what did you say? You cut out for a second.
Oh, I was just saying, we're always looking for volunteers, so just reach out.
All right. Thank you so much. So does anyone have any questions for Amanda, John, or Julia?
I have a question for Amanda. What is the hardest part about working at Aware?
The hardest part for me is knowing and hearing the stories of what our victims are going through, especially the children.
Anyone else? Up next, careers in arts and humanities nonprofit organizations happens on April 1st, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. So common hour for all of us students. And that should be up on Core. Thank you again, everyone from the speakers to students for coming. If you want to learn more about the Student Nonprofit Alliance, feel free to reach out to us on social media or email. We're also on Core. SNA meets Wednesdays from 7:45 to 9 p.m. Meetings are for everyone, no matter what your major is, and SNA also hosts numerous events throughout every semester. So feel free to follow us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And thank you all everyone for coming.